Hey, and welcome to my show. I'm so glad that you tuned in today. If you are looking for a boost in self-confidence, just need some tips on your relationship or improving intimacy, then you are going to love today's show. And I know you're going to love today's guest because I do. He is my husband, Stephen Gardner, who happens to be a YouTuber here as well. And thanks for joining me today for this awesome interview, Steve.
Oh, I'm so excited to be able to share wisdom and the male perspective and just be a part of your incredible show. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get going in this new year. I really am looking forward to having a lot of people come on my show and have really important conversations. And as you well know, we have a lot of fun guests lined up, but I thought there would be nobody better to kick off this year of interviews than my favorite person in the whole world. And I really do value your perspective. And you and I have been married. It'll be 18 years coming up in a few months. And, we have weathered quite a few storms over the last actually 19 years of being in relationship with each other. And, I had a good friend of mine ask me the other day, how did you guys do it? Like, you guys seem really happy. And I know I can only speak for myself, but I feel really happy being married to you. And I'm really grateful that, I know that I can be happy with you in poor times, in times of plenty, and during a pandemic, during lockdown. I can be happy with you in sickness and in health. Like, we really have weathered so much together. So here's the question. How do you think we did it? What did we do?
Well, it's always fun to run into couples that have been married for less time than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say to them, we've been married for 18 years. So by next year, I feel like we've been married long enough I can start handing out advice. But other than that, just do your best, take care of each other. I don't ever feel like I have enough wisdom to share with the world on how to run a marriage. But I can tell you from being married that I know that marriage takes work, and it takes commitment, and it takes patience and love, and just there's so many components that go into it. And yeah, we've lived through some good and bad, a lot of it out of our control. It's like they say, life throws you lemons, and it's like, okay, did we set up shop under a lemon tree? They just keep falling.
It has
And
felt
so
that way before. Yeah.
yeah, and so but it's been good. And I want to share that information with people to help them improve their relationship. And I know with your coaching practice for many, many years, your focus is on helping the woman to improve herself, develop herself, lean into her higher self. But at the same time, you've come to me for the male perspective, and it's forced me to think like, okay, what are the things that I do wrong? What are the things that I could do better? And what are the things that I've done really well? And so it's been a delight for me to go through this journey with you as you are setting up your business and helping people. And you don't ever tell me what's going on with your clients, but it's just fun to see and meet the people that you've had such a big impact on.
Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, it has been an adventure. And I think that, as you're talking, something that came to my mind that I think really did bless our marriage was that I took my own, my own personal development pretty seriously early on in our relationship and in our marriage. We're in a religious community, and we believe in a lot of conservative values as far as, I am really the matriarch of our home and you're the patriarch of our family, if that makes sense. And that doesn't bother me. I actually really like that. It feels good to me. However, I can see how women can get lost and they lose themselves in mothering and in keeping a home, or trying to work and keep a home and raise the children. And then when the children leave, who are you? You know, I've run the gamut with my clients of the theme that seems to pop up is women lose themselves in, you know, being the mother. And, you know, the men, I don't typically work with men, but I have worked with couples, and the men miss their wives. They miss the woman they fell in love with. And, you know, that's what I'm starting to see this theme pop up is, how do you hang on to yourself, the core of who you are? How do you hang on to that while completely giving yourself to another person? And I think that, you know, as you have, you know, developed and blossomed within your career, I decided that I was going to develop myself and that I wasn't going to lose myself, because I did feel myself slipping away, especially in those early years of motherhood. I mean, you've seen over the last few days, I've been very tearful over the feeling like I've actually lost those days. They're gone, you know, those little babies that hang on your legs, as hard as that is, those days pass. And then these new ones where I have a lot more freedom now, but you know, my kids don't need me. So it's liberating, while it also is, you know, harrowing at times to miss those little babies. But it's allowed me to have a lot more time to do, you know, have my career and work. But I think it's really blessed our relationship for me to have something. And I think that if I could speak to my client that is maybe thinking she could use some coaching, it would be, don't give so much of yourself away that you don't recognize, you know, the woman staring back at you in the mirror. What would you
Yeah.
say? What would you say to that?
No, I mean, I've seen that with, you know, friends of ours, couple friends of ours. I've seen that even within our own marriage, of you continually developing yourself, but at the same time, you know, losing yourself, where it's like, I come home and you had spent all this time watching, you know, Disney with little kids and having conversations with little kids. And then it was like, I need an adult to speak to. And I'm like, I've been talking to adults all day. I just want to
Right.
see my kids, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so finding like, okay, how do we each, you know, come home from the work day and find each other again, in good conversation, in, you know, growing together. I think that's one thing that we have done well, is we've grown really well apart, and we've grown really well together. And I think that those were really important because, and honestly, you're the one that taught me this, is like, you have to continue to develop yourself and be your own person, right? Like, we're not trying to become the same person. We don't need to wear the
No.
same clothes.
Get the
We
same
don't need
haircut.
we don't need the same haircut. We don't need the same glasses, you know, like, it's okay for you to be you and me to be me. And yet at the same time, if you're not like learning about the same topics or doing things that are interesting to the other person, even if maybe you aren't always interested immediately, like, there is a point where you can grow apart. You become
Yeah.
totally different people. And so how do you grow as, not apart? That's the wrong way to say it. How do you grow as an individual, and then how do you grow as a couple?
Yeah.
And that has been really, really powerful for us in our marriage.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that humility plays a big role there, I feel like, because if you have two people who are growing, right, they each become an expert in their own right. And if you can relent that you're not the expert where your spouse may have expertise, and you can let them be that expert, I think that really does end up blessing your relationship, because then, you know, they get to shine. And I've watched you shine, and it would have been really easy for you, especially given your success in the last few years, to really go for and outshine me. But you didn't. You totally supported me and loved me through my growing process. And so that was really humbling for me as an example of how to really support, how to support your spouse without feeling threatened by their success. And I think that's really special. So I think, I have a client who, her husband comes home from work. And like you said, they're in the middle of where we were a few years ago, where, her husband comes home from work. He's worked a 40-hour work week, or he is in the process of working this 40-hour work week. And then he needs to decompress. And his idea of decompressing is playing video games. And many times his wife will, wait around and then she's tired. So she'll go to bed, where he's still on the, doing Call of Duty or whatever. And it's coming between their marriage. He needs, several hours a night to decompress. And while I don't want to throw him under the bus, like it's all his fault, I would say, I'm not working with him. I'm working with her. And what I would say is, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? How do you light yourself up? If you come home, or if your husband comes home from work and say you've either worked as well or have stayed home with the kids or whatever the case may be, and you're bringing your need to him, he's going to feel like it's one more thing to do. Like you're one more thing on his to-do list. Make my wife happy, fulfill my wife's social needs. And this is what I started to see between you and I, is that I was starting to depend on you for my social outlet exclusively, especially during those baby years. And I quickly saw how that was inappropriate for me to do. While I'm a very social person, I needed to find other ways to get my social needs met. And so my church community really helped. I joined play groups, and these weren't always women these are wonderful people who have become close friends, but they wouldn't have been somebody that I maybe would have naturally gravitated towards. And that helped shape me and helped me grow by having people around me who, we're with each other because our kids are the same age, but that helped me see different kinds of people. It was really good for me. It actually helped me understand the trajectory I was headed in my career by hearing and listening and having compassion for people who I maybe wouldn't normally choose to be around, but who I'm so grateful that I was. And it also helped me have some of my social outlet fulfilled by the time you got home or were done with work, so that I wasn't bringing you my need. I was bringing you my best self. I was bringing you. So I would say to this woman, when your husband gets home and he feels like you're just one more thing that he has on his to-do list, then you need to look inside and, I don't want to say resentfully go out and get your needs met other ways, but lovingly, for the sake of your marriage, for the sake of blessing your relationship. Are you close with your mom? Develop that. Do you have a sister? Do you have a best friend? Is there a play group? Is there, what can you do to, go outside of, just your husband for your social or needs, really? Do you exercise? Are you, what are you doing to develop yourself? Something I think you and I really, you and I both are voracious learners. We love to learn, and we love to listen to podcasts. And so one of my favorite things that we did and still do is find a podcast series that is educational. And because I'm the one who started this, we started out with a relationship podcast that spoke to us, and we would listen to it together. And I remember putting laundry away with you and pausing it and just talking. We'd maybe get through like 15 or 20 minutes of this hour-long podcast, and then we'd have another hour-long conversation. And this is instead of staying up late to watch Netflix. We would do this while accomplishing a task and then have these amazing deep conversations. And I got to know your mind and your desires and your spirit. And it made me fall more in love with you. It also, let me know that even after so many years of marriage, I don't have you totally figured out yet.
Oh, good.
There's a lot more to learn. And that's really exciting. That makes me so happy. Even now, just saying that, I get lit up that there's so much more. And we've spent so many hours together, countless hours together. And I still have more of you to unpack, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm an onion, like lots of layers right now.
Parfait. Come on, like Donkey says in Shrek.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to find things to do together.
Yeah, that's
And
good advice.
there's things that I'm like, oh, thank goodness she has girlfriends that she can go do XYZ with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I come across a book or a podcast or a YouTube video and it makes me happy or lights me up, you're the person that I'm texting the link to and saying, hey, watch this and then let's talk about it when I get home from work. Or let's go, when we used to have the gym pass, $20 a month, but it had the massage chairs.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting, the massage chair more than the workout. But while we were there, we were listening to a podcast together, and then we would pause and talk about it. And so we found ways to grow individually, but we also found ways to grow as a couple. And one thing that I think we do well, we're not perfect at, but I know that we do well, is when we do go out to dinner, we do step away from the kids to, enrich our relationship. We're not on our phones at dinner. It's, we're talking. And if we don't have something to talk about, we're okay to sit. Or we can pull out questions that we can ask each other and get to know each other. I know for a fact I don't know you that well after 18 years of marriage because I'm not in your brain. I'm not in your daily life. We spend more time away from each other than together. So now that we're together, how do I get to know you and how do you get to know me? And the best way is through conversation and asking questions and debating. You and I have different perspectives on lots of different topics, and we're respectful of that. But I think, again, learning to grow as an individual and learning to grow as a couple are really, really important skill sets.
Yeah. I mean, I spent hours curating questions on my website on coachkacey.com if you want to check that out after this video. But it's not uncommon for couples. Some of the things that I've heard some clients bring to me that they're actually pretty worried about is, when we go out, we don't have anything to talk about and there's awkward silence. And while that doesn't feel good, just know it happens to the best of us. It happens. You and I have been out to dinner and I'm like, all right, don't bring up the kids. What do we talk about? And then I'm like, I'm going to pull up my questions. How many times have we been out to dinner? And we still haven't gotten through all the questions that I personally curated. So, it's a great jumping off point, and it's totally free. Print it out so you're not on your phones and fold it up, put it in your pocket or your purse, and have a conversation that opens you up and really get to know your partner. It's so important.
I think if they get anything out of this podcast, it should be that PDF, because I've talked to many friends where they've been married for about as long as us. And they're like, dude, we've talked about everything. I don't know what to talk about. And I see them on their phone, or, it's all work, talk. It's like, okay, dude, pull out a list of questions or pull out a would you rather, like, would
Yeah.
you rather be attacked by robots or would you rather be attacked by aliens? Like, those are dumb questions, but they start the conversation. And
And
you figure,
my answer is aliens, because then at least I would know that they were real.
yeah, but it gets the conversation going.
Yeah.
And as you laugh together and smile together, it just is, it's very bonding. I'm sure it releases oxytocin, and you feel closer to your spouse, or the person that you're dating. And that's just really, really important. And you and I, we're big on just having downtime on Sundays. I feel like the world tries to rip us apart for 6 days a week, and then we try to come back together for 1 day a week. I think another thing that people can just make sure that they're doing is whether you've been married 10 days or 10 years or 70 years, is just to continue to date each other.
Yeah.
Get to know each other, ask questions, ask about their day, and just sit back and take it in, and learn to be a good listener.
Yeah, that's great advice. To wrap things up, I think the last thing that I would say, that you and I have discovered over the course of 18 years of marriage, is that, intimacy can ebb and flow. And, I've heard people say scheduled sex is bad. And while I agree with that, and every situation is different, something that I feel like you and I have done that has really blessed our marriage is to have that Friday night date night, and then just kind of be flirty about how that date night is going to end. And there's anticipation for it versus scheduled, that feeling of scheduled intimacy. It feels so robotic, which I know that it could be for some couples, but I don't feel like it has been for you and I. And I know that some of my clients, that's been a very good thing for both partners to be on board with sending flirty texts or what the case may be for your Friday night date night. And that you both are understanding that you are showered and fresh and ready and feeling, excited for your intimate married mom and dad time, and that it's a way to get away from all of the other things of life. And of course, if you're not there yet, if it's been a lot longer than that, then that's terrible advice. If you say we're doing it on this day and that's the end of that. But for most couples, it's a really good place to start, to say, hey, even if it's just once a week, that's 52 times a year. And that's double the amount that it used to be. Right. And that for women, if this is an issue for you, please reach out. I have so many more, not just tips or tricks, because it's not something that you can just tip or trick to a solution. This is something that probably needs examination with an unbiased third party. And I'd love to help you through that. So anyway, did you have anything to add before we sign out?
No, I just think, making each other a priority on Friday night has been really, really great for us. Our kids know, hey, mom and dad, they're either getting a babysitter, or now that you're old enough, our oldest son is the babysitter, and we're going to go to dinner or we're going to go to a movie. We just need to be a couple and not mom and dad all the time, and just go talk, go to dinner, go do an activity. Try something new that you have never tried before. Go to Barnes and Noble, read a book together, go get a drink, whatever it is. But I think just scheduling that time together has been really, really valuable.
Yeah, going to a play, or, the arts are always very inspiring. Going to a museum, an art show, something that's completely out of the norm. While movies are great and I love them, of course, I would go to a movie every week. Sometimes if you do that for the same date night every week, it doesn't really lend to a lot of intimacy. It's more of an escape, which is great to have an escape every once in a while, but we're not looking for escape when you're dating. You're looking to connect. And so I do love doing new experiences with you. And I love being married to you. Thanks so much for coming on my show today and lending your expertise and wisdom in the realm of relationship. Anybody who watches your show, it's probably fun for them to get to see you in the husband light versus the financial expert or politic commentator role. So yeah, you're really
yeah, it's fun
to
for
talk
me
to.
too.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Steve. Can't
Yeah,
wait to
have a
date
good night.
you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.